Have you ever wondered why a simple leather handbag can cost more than your monthly salary? Or why people stand in line for hours just to step inside a Louis Vuitton store? Here's a mind-bending fact. Louis Vuitton is so powerful, they burn their unsold bags rather than offer discounts because to them, scarcity is value. But how did we get here? How did a humble trunk maker from 19th century France build the world's most iconic luxury brand? One that now sits atop a multi-billion-dollar empire, untouched by economic downturns, fakes, or even fashion trends. This is not just a story of fashion. This is a story of vision, psychology, power, and strategy. And it all begins with a teenage boy, a dusty road, and a dream stitched into the lining of a wooden trunk. Let's go back to where it all began. Year 1835, Jura Mountains. Eastern France. Louis Vuitton was just 13 years old when he packed a few clothes, left his small mountain village, and began walking to Paris. Yes, walking. It took him over 2 years to cover the 292 miles on foot. No money, no family waiting for him. Just the fierce determination to build something better. At night, he slept in barns or under bridges. During the day, he took odd jobs to earn food. And all this for what? To become a box maker, a trade so niche, so overlooked, that few saw the potential in it. But Louis did. Arrival in Paris 1837. By the time he arrived in Paris at 16, the city was transforming. Steam trains were changing how people traveled. The upper class began taking long journeys across Europe. Even across oceans, and they needed sturdy, custom-fitted luggage to match their lavish lifestyles. Louis found work under Monsieur Marechal, a successful box maker, and in just a few years, Vuitton became known for one rare quality: perfection. His boxers weren't just containers, they were crafted masterpieces, seamless, precise, stylish. But the turning point came when he caught the eye of a very important client. Enter Empress Eugénie in 1853. Louis Vuitton was hired as the personal boxmaker and packer for Empress Eugénie de Montijo, wife of Napoleon III. She trusted him to pack her gowns and treasures. During traveler sacred duty in aristocratic circles, this one client elevated Vuitton's reputation overnight. Suddenly, the name Louis Vuitton wasn't just a craftsman, it was a brand. 1854. The first Louis Vuitton store, with confidence and a small sum of money. Louis opened his first shop at 4 Rue Neuve des Capucines, Paris. His slogan: securely packs the most fragile objects, specializing in packing fashions. But he wasn't just selling trunks, he was selling peace of mind, prestige, and innovation. While most luggage at the time had rounded tops to let rain run off, Vuitton invented something radical: flat-top trunks. They were stackable, practical, elegant. Travelers instantly fell in love with the design. And just like that, Louis Vuitton wasn't just a trunk maker anymore. He was a trendsetter. But with every trend comes a challenge. And soon, Louis would face one of the darkest setbacks in his journey, a setback that could have crushed the brand before it ever reached the world stage. In 1871. After years of growth and fame, disaster struck. The Franco-Prussian War had left Paris ravaged. When Louis returned to the city after fleeing with his family, he found his workshop ransacked and supplies stolen. His workers were gone, his tools destroyed, steam reduced to rubble. But this wasn't just a setback. This was a test. Instead of surrendering, Louis made a bold move. He relocated his operations to Asnières, a quieter suburb outside Paris, and built a new workshop next to his home. From this moment on, Asnières would become the heart of Louis Vuitton's craftsmanship, a place where innovation would flourish. For generations, and flourish it did. Innovation as identity back in business. Louis didn't just rebuild, he reinvented. With a new workshop and clearer vision, he introduced designs the world had never seen before. lightweight yet durable canvas. Trunks waterproof coating, the revolutionary Trianon gray canvas. Instantly recognizable, but with fame came imitators. Others began copying his designs, trying to ride the wave of his innovation. So what did Louis do? High played their game, Mand beat them at it. 1888, the Damier Canvas 2 combat counterfeits. Louis introduced the now famous Damier pattern, printed with the words Marque L. Vuitton, Deposé, meaning L. Vuitton registered trademark. This wasn't just a pattern, it was a shield. Every checkered square declared authenticity, quality, and ownership. It told copycats, you can try to imitate, but you'll never be Louis Vuitton. Louis was building not just a product, but a persona. 1892, the end of an era, and a new beginning. At the age of 70, Louis Vuitton passed away. But his legacy is just beginning. His son, Georges Vuitton, took over. And Georges had vision not just for trunks and bags, but for the future of the brand. In fact, Georges had one mission: to make Louis Vuitton a global symbol of elegance and modern travel. And he wasted no time. 1896, the monogram that changed everything to further combat counterfeiters and create an instantly identifiable brand. Georges designed something legendary, the LV monogram canvas. Inspired by Japanese and Oriental design trends, the monogram wasn't just protective, it was beautiful. More importantly, it turned every Louis Vuitton piece into a walking advertisement, a flex, a badge, a story. And with this canvas, Georges began taking Louis Vuitton international. 1900. Paris World's Fair. At the turn of the century, Louis Vuitton exhibited at the Exposition Universelle. The Paris World's Fair. Over 50 million people visited the event. And Georges used it to launch Louis Vuitton to the world by 1914. The Louis Vuitton store on Champs-Élysées became the largest travel goods store in the world. It was official. The brand was now a global status symbol. But what made Louis Vuitton truly stand out, what made it untouchable, was not just the product. It was the psychology behind how they sold it. Twist incoming, the brand that perhaps used to chase customers. In a world obsessed with selling more, faster, and cheaper, Louis Vuitton took a different path. They didn't just sell products, they created desire, they mastered restraint. And they started planting the seeds of a strategy that would one day dominate the entire luxury fashion world. But how exactly do you make people crave something? By telling them they can't have it? That's the billion-dollar question. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover how Louis Vuitton became the master of modern luxury marketing, from scarcity tactics to pricing psychology. And the legendary decision to never go on sale. *** male narrator, voice.com. Intellectual, a touch mysterious. Imagine walking into a Louis Vuitton store, eyeing a sleek, perfectly crafted handbag, only to find out it's out of stock. Now imagine coming back next month, it's still unavailable. You don't just want the bag anymore. You need it. That's not poor inventory management. That's genius. Louis Vuitton isn't just selling luxury, they're selling exclusivity, desire, and status. And one of their most powerful weapons, scarcity. *** Louis Vuitton understood that when something is harder to get, it becomes more valuable in the customer's mind. They carefully control production and limit supply even if the demand is enormous. And here's the kicker: they never go on sale, ever, while other brands scramble to dump unsold inventory. 55. Holds firm. If an item doesn't sell, it gets discontinued or even burned. Yes, burned. Because to Louis Vuitton, putting a luxury item on clearance doesn't just reduce its price, it destroys its soul. Psychology of pricing. Another twist in their strategy. LV never advertises pricing. You'll rarely find price tags visible in their stores or ads. Why? Because if you're asking how much, you're not their customer. Louis Vuitton uses what psychologists call prestige pricing. The idea is simple. The higher the price, the higher the perceived value. Their products are priced not just for profit, but for perception. A Louis Vuitton bag isn't a bag, it's a signal, a story, status symbol, and you'll never hear them trying to convince you to buy it. Because LV doesn't chase customers. Customers chase LV. Selective store placement, have you noticed? You'll never find Louis Vuitton in just any mall. Their boutiques are deliberately located in high-end fashion streets. This isn't random. It's part of their selective distribution strategy. They'd rather have fewer stores with higher impact than flood the market. Why? Because abundance kills desire. Luxury thrives on distance. LV doesn't rely on typical advertising. Their campaigns are cinematic, poetic, often abstract. They don't scream by this. They whisper, if you belong, you'll know. Their storytelling leans on legacy craftsmanship, emotion exclusivity, whether it's a short film, a fashion show, or a runway in a museum. LV turns every campaign into an art form. They're not in the business of fashion. They're in the business of fantasy. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Now here comes the twist. Despite their conservative luxury image, LV shocked the world in the 2010s by collaborating with Supreme. Yes, the streetwear giant. Two worlds collided and the fashion industry exploded. The collaboration sold out. In minutes, hypebeasts stood in lines for days. The resale value soared. It was one of the most talked about moments in fashion history. LV proved it could adapt without losing its identity. A new era begins. Enter Virgil Abloh. In 2018, Louis Vuitton made another bold move. They appointed Virgil Abloh, a black designer, with a background in streetwear. As the head of menswear, this was more than fashion, it was cultural. Virgil brought a fresh, rebellious energy to the brand, blending high art, pop culture, and urban identity. Under his direction, LV's menswear line didn't just become trendy, it became unmissable, and still. It stayed true to the core values of craftsmanship, exclusivity, and storytelling. Louis Vuitton wasn't just surviving the modern age, it was thriving. But how? In the next chapter, we dive deeper into the financial engine behind this luxury titan. We'll expose the margins, the numbers, the business modeling, how Louis Vuitton became the crown jewel in the LVMH empire. The numbers might surprise you. Asterisk, asterisk. Louis Vuitton doesn't just sell bags. It prints money behind every handbag, every suitcase. Every monogrammed wallet is a razor-sharp business machine designed to maximize profits, preserve image, and expand global influence, all without ever compromising on exclusivity. Want to hear something wild? Some Louis Vuitton bags have profit margins estimated at over 80%. That means for every $3,000 bag sold, it may only cost $500 to make, including materials and labor. The rest? Brand value, perceived luxury, psychological power, and it's working. Today, Louis Vuitton generates over $20 billion in annual revenue than any other luxury fashion house in history. In fact, Louis Vuitton alone is worth more than entire luxury groups combined. But here's where it gets deeper. The brand isn't just a success story, it's the foundation of a larger empire. LVMH, Louis Vuitton, became part of LVMH in 1987 when it merged with Moët Chandon and Hennessy. This wasn't just a merger, it was a masterstroke. Together, they created the ultimate luxury conglomerate. Louis Vuitton, Moët, Hennessy, and at the helm of that empire, a man named Bernard Arnault. Arnault saw something others didn't. He knew luxury wasn't about trends. Was about emotion, scarcity, and mythology. And he built LVMH like a fortress, dozens of luxury brands under one roof, each with a unique identity. But all fueled by the same core principles. Louis Vuitton became the jewel in that crown. Under LVMH, the brand exploded. New markets, new products, tighter control, higher profit, and above all complete protection of the brand's prestige. No discounts, no outlet stores, no overexposure. If demand spiked too fast, they cut supply. If fakes flooded the market, they revamped their packaging. Competitors followed trends, Louis Vuitton created them. Even their advertising spend is calculated like chess. Not a cent wasted. Every billboard, every magazine spread, every campaign is positioned for impact, not visibility. In countries like China, Japan, and South Korea, Louis Vuitton is worshipped. Their stores don't open, they launch. Customers wait hours to spend. Thousands. And why? 'Cause Louis Vuitton sells more than fashion. It sells status, and that status is protected like a religion. Every sales associate is trained not just to serve, but to study. They profile customers, track habits, offer limited collections only to the top clients. It's not retail, it's theater. And if a product sells too well, they stop making it, because if everyone has it, it's no longer luxury. This is the genius of Louis Vuitton. They play the long game. While others chase volume, LV chases meaning. And that meaning turns into margins so high, it makes investors smile and competitors panic. But even with this ironclad strategy, Louis Vuitton hasn't been without controversy. Fakes, boycotts, lawsuits, accusations of cultural appropriation. And in a fast-changing world, how does a 160-year-old brand keep from being seen as outdated or out of touch? That's what we explore next. Because sometimes, survival isn't about tradition, it's about transformation. Asterisk, Louis Vuitton doesn't just operate in a world of admiration, it operates in a world of scrutiny. In an age of digital transparency, viral backlash, and shifting cultural expectations, even a luxury titan must tread carefully. Because prestige can't protect you from public opinion. Over the years, Louis Vuitton has faced growing tension between its heritage and modern expectations. Take counterfeits. For example, the LV monogram is one of the most copied designs in the world. From street vendors in Bangkok to flea markets in Los Angeles, fakes are everywhere. And while the brand aggressively pursues legal action, lawsuits alone can't stop the flood. But here's the twist. The abundance of fakes hasn't diluted the brand, it's strengthened it. Why? Because the real Louis Vuitton buyer isn't confused. They're not looking for a cheap replica. They're buying access to a world fakes can't touch: customer service, craftsmanship, packaging. The boutique experience, the aura of authenticity. Counterfeit might look similar, but it feels empty, and in luxury, feeling is everything. Then there's the criticism about cultural appropriation. Some of LV's runway designs have borrowed motifs from African, Asian, and indigenous cultures. And while fashion has always been global, the internet era demands accountability. One collection can spark a firestorm. One misstep can go viral. And Louis Vuitton has learned to respond, not with apologies, but with adjustments. More diverse, creative teams. More inclusion in campaigns. Collaborations with artists from all walks of life. Not as a trend, but as a strategy. Because survival today isn't just about relevance, it's about knowing when to evolve without selling out. When to experiment without forgetting your roots. That balance was tested again. When Louis Vuitton entered the streetwear scene, many feared the brand would alienate its elite clientele. But the results proved otherwise. Streetwear didn't dilute the brand, expanded its borders. A new generation of consumers, Gen Z, millennials. First-time luxury buyers found something relatable in Louis Vuitton's reinvention. It wasn't just about showing wealth. It was about expressing identity. They saw Louis Vuitton not just as a brand, but as a canvas. A platform where fashion, culture, and art collided. And nowhere was that more visible than in the legacy of Virgil Abloh. Virgil was more than a designer. He was a symbol. The first black artistic director at Louis Vuitton, a Teza boundary breaker, who blurred the lines between streetwear and high fashion. When he passed away in 2021, the world mourned. But his impact, it lives on. His collections didn't just sell, they told stories about race, youth, freedom, ambition. About what it means to wear something that makes people look twice, not because of the label, but because of the message. And that's when Louis Vuitton fully transcended fashion. It became a movement. But here's the real question. Can Louis Vuitton keep this momentum forever? Or will the weight of time, change, and rising competition finally catch up? Let's answer that in the next chapter, where we dissect the future, sustainability, digital fashion, the metaverse, and the new generation of luxury buyers. Because the next era of Louis Vuitton might not be made of leather at all. Asterisk picture. You're in the metaverse, attending a virtual fashion show. You walk into a glowing digital Louis Vuitton store, and instead of trying on a bag in real life, you equip it on your avatar. It sparkles. It's rare. It's NFT-authenticated. Welcome to the future of luxury, and Louis Vuitton is already there in a world where technology evolves by the second. Even a 160-year-old brand must stay ahead of the curve. And Louis Vuitton is doing exactly that, not by abandoning tradition, but by innovating through it. The brand's dive into digital fashion began subtly, but powerfully. They launched Louis the Game, a mobile experience blending history, storytelling, and NFTs. Players explored different worlds while collecting tokens and unlocking parts of Louis Vuitton's legacy. But this isn't just marketing. It's a testbed for a new luxury ecosystem, one where items aren't just sold, but owned, tracked, verified, and flaunted on the blockchain. And yes, they've already dropped digital collectibles, scarce, authentic, and sellable. Because in the metaverse, luxury doesn't fade, scales. But let's rewind to something even more urgent. Sustainability. For a long time, luxury fashion was immune to questions of waste and ethics. But today's consumers demand more: transparency, responsibility, purpose, and Louis Vuitton has taken notes. Their parent company launched Life 360, a broad initiative aimed at reducing environmental impact. LV began incorporating sustainable materials into collections, increasing supply chain traceability, and optimizing production to reduce carbon emissions. Even packaging is being redesigned to be lighter, recyclable, and reusable, while keeping that signature prestige feel. Now, skeptics say, isn't it ironic for a brand selling $2,000 bags to claim eco-consciousness? Sure, but Louis Vuitton knows that luxury's new edge is not just about materials, it's about mindset, and the mindset is shifting. Luxury used to mean excess. Now, it means ethics. But here's where things get even more interesting. The new generation of buyers, particularly Gen Z, values experience over ownership. They're less impressed by logos and more intrigued by meaning. They ask, who made this? What does it represent? What story does it tell? And Louis Vuitton has responded with precision. They've begun limited capsule collections with emerging designers, sponsored art exhibitions, partnered with causes, and even created personalization experiences, letting buyers co-create their bags or accessories, because when everyone wants to stand out, customization becomes luxury, and there's more. As trends shift, Louis Vuitton keeps adapting without chasing. They don't follow hype. They observe it, absorb it, and then transform it into something timeless. You see other brands follow. Seasons. Louis Vuitton follows legacy. They aren't racing to be everywhere, they're racing to be irreplaceable. So what does all this mean? It means Louis Vuitton isn't just surviving the digital revolution, it's owning it while fast fashion burns out in weeks and trends die on TikTok overnight. Louis Vuitton plays the long game, turning disruption into opportunity. But to truly understand the power of this empire, we need to go behind the scenes. Because behind every bag sold, there's a finely tuned machine. Sales strategies, tiered pricing, client link, micro-marketing, financial reporting in the next chapter. We'll break down the engine room of Louis Vuitton, the cold, brilliant math behind the warm, emotional brand. Numbers don't lie. And in the case of Louis Vuitton, we tell a story of dominance few can match. Asterisk, asterisk, let's lift the velvet curtain. Behind the shimmering storefronts and fashion shows is a machine precise, relentless, and quietly unstoppable. A Louis Vuitton isn't just creative, it's calculated. Every handbag, every boutique, every Instagram post is part of a larger, profit-generating matrix. So how does it work? Let's start with the revenue model. Louis Vuitton generates the majority of its income from one key category: leather goods. Handbags, wallets, travel pieces. These aren't just accessories. They're the brand's financial backbone. High margin, high demand. Low risk, unlike clothing, which requires constant reinvention. Leather goods remain evergreen. A Speedy or Neverfull can stay in rotation for years, selling thousands of units with little change. That's what makes them cash cows. And remember, Louis Vuitton owns its entire supply chain, from raw material sourcing to design, production, and retail. It's all internal. No middlemen, no outsourcing to department stores. This vertical integration gives them total control over quality, pricing, and brand experience. Now let's talk about margins. Industry insiders estimate Louis Vuitton enjoys operating profit margins north of 40%, an extraordinary figure in fashion. That's possible because of low cost of production, premium pricing, and direct-to-consumer retail. And that brings us to retail strategy. Louis Vuitton doesn't rely on third-party retailers. They sell almost exclusively through their own boutiques and online platforms, which means no wholesale markups, full customer data, complete control over the brand environment. Every store is architecturally unique, custom-built, strategically located in high-income, high-footfall cities: Tokyo, New York, Paris, Singapore. Each store isn't just a shop, it's a statement. And they use those spaces to their advantage. Their client link strategy is one of the most sophisticated in retail. Store associates are trained not just to sell but to build relationships. They track past purchases, personal preferences, even birthdays. Some top clients get early access to exclusive collections or private previews. It's not just service-side seduction. Then, there's the digital side. Louis Vuitton's e-commerce site is sleek, secure, and personalized. Customers can book appointments, chat with stylists, and track orders seamlessly. And the packaging, immaculate. Heavy boxers, golden ribbons, custom cards. Because even the unboxing is a luxury experience. But here's the secret sauce. Louis Vuitton doesn't try to please everyone. They're not about mass market. They're about tiered demand. Products are released in strategic wave score items for entry-level luxury buyers, rare pieces for collectors, and ultra-exclusive editions for VIPs. This creates layers of desire. It's not just about owning an LV piece. It's about which one and whether you're in the right circle to access it. Meanwhile, pricing continues to climb. Every year, LV quietly increases prices, sometimes 2 or 3 times annually. No fanfare, no apology. Just a steady march upward. Why? Because rising prices reinforce perceived value. And in luxury, Perception is everything. Now, combine that with global expansion. You get scale with precision in China. For instance, Louis Vuitton was one of the first Western luxury brands to enter the market. Today, China is a massive revenue driver. Same in South Korea, the Middle East, and emerging markets like India and Southeast Asia. But despite expansion, Louis Vuitton remains selective. They'd rather open one perfect store in a city than 10 average ones. Because scarcity, again, fuels desire. This is the Louis Vuitton formula. Scarcity plus control plus legacy plus storytelling equals power. And that power translates into jaw-dropping numbers. In 2023 alone, Louis Vuitton contributed a massive portion of LVMH's total profits. So much so that Bernard Arnault, EO of LVMH, became the richest man in the world. Not through tech, not through oil. Through luxury, but for entrepreneurs and marketers, the real value isn't in the numbers. It's in the lessons, and in the next chapter. We break down what every business, big or small, can learn from Louis Vuitton's legendary rise, because this isn't just a brand story. It's a masterclass in strategy. Asterisk, asterisk. What if I told you that you don't need a billion-dollar company to apply Louis Vuitton's strategy? Because behind the luxury, behind the leather, behind the legacy, there are principles. Universal principles that any entrepreneur, content creator, or brand builder can learn from. Let's break it down. Lesson 1. Own your identity, then guard it like a fortress. Louis Vuitton never allowed others to define them. They defined themselves through craftsmanship, exclusivity, and storytelling, and then protected that image at all costs. The takeaway: if you're building a brand, decide what you want to stand for. Clarity kills confusion, whether it's quality, speed, elegance, or creativity. Unit. Don't chase trends. Make your values your signature. Lesson 2. Scarcity is power. Louis Vuitton doesn't flood the market. They withhold. Scarcity builds mystique. It creates demand. People want what they can't easily have. So whether you're launching a course, a product, or a service, limit access. Create waitlists. Drop offers for a short time only. Let your audience chase you, not the other way around. Lesson 3. Story over product. People don't just buy Louis Vuitton for the bag, they buy the story behind it, the monogram, the legacy, the craftsmanship, the heritage. In your business, don't just sell what something is. Sell what it means. Your why is more powerful than your what. A course isn't just education, it's transformation. A t-shirt isn't just fashion, it's identity. A service isn't just a task, it's freedom. Lesson 4. Control the experience. Louis Vuitton controls everything from packaging to store design to the tone of voice their salespeople use. Your brand should feel intentional. From the first Instagram post to the thank you email after purchase, every touchpoint should reflect your values. Small businesses can feel luxurious when they're thoughtful. Lesson 5. Price based on perception. Here's the hard truth: people often judge value by the price you set. Louis Vuitton doesn't apologize for high prices. Instead, they lean into them. Stop underpricing yourself just to get customers. If your product is good and your positioning is clear, you can charge more. Raise your value and raise your price to match it. Lesson 6. Select your audience. Louis Vuitton never tries to appeal to everyone. They know their audience. People who value prestige, legacy, and quality. Trying to sell to everyone is the fastest way to sell to no one. Figure out your niche. Speak directly to them. Make them feel seen. The rest, let them watch from the outside. Lesson 7. Legacy outlives trends. LV didn't chase microtrends. They built a mythology. They leaned on heritage and craftsmanship while allowing evolution to come on their terms. So build a brand that lasts. Don't rely on viral. Build roots, not just branches. Consistency in messaging, product quality, and customer experience creates trust. And trust is what builds legacy. Lesson 8. Adapt without losing yourself. Louis Vuitton entered the digital world, the streetwear game, and even the metaverse all without losing their DNA, the key. They evolved around their identity, not away from it. As the world changes, adapt your delivery but hold on to your essence. Let your brand grow, but always with your fingerprints on it. Because the brands that last are the ones that feel human. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So, whether you're a solo creator, a startup founder, or a future fashion mogul, remember, you don't need a luxury label to be legendary. You just need clarity, control, consistency, and a story that's worth following. In the next part, we'll bring the Louis Vuitton story full circle from a teenage boy walking 292 miles to a global fashion empire, and the emotional heartbeat that still echoes inside every stitch, every seam, and every sale. Because in the end, this isn't just a business case study, it's a story of vision, resilience, and timeless ambition. Asterisk, asterisk. Let's go back to where it all began. A 13-year-old boy. Dirt on his boots, dreams in his pocket, walking alone across France toward a city he had never seen. His name was Louis. He didn't have wealth. He didn't have connections. But he had something far more powerful: vision. He believed that even the simplest things, a trunk, a box, a piece of canvas, could be transformed into something beautiful if crafted with care and purpose, and he was right. Today, Louis Vuitton is not just a fashion label, it's a symbol. A story woven across centuries, stitched into the very fabric of modern luxury. But beyond the logos, the leather, the lines of customers, there is something deeper. A heartbeat. This brand didn't rise by luck. It rose through storms. It rose through war, through theft, through doubt, through every possible setback. And yet, it endured. Why? Because Louis Vuitton was never just about products, it was about people. The artisan in Asnières, carving monograms by hand. The young stylist sketching future collections in a Paris studio. The customer buying their very first piece, not for others to see, but for themselves to feel. This is the soul of Louis Vuitton. Its legacy, its family. Look at the monogram again. Those letters L and V are not just initials. They are a reminder that even the smallest beginnings can shape the grandest empires. That storytelling, when done right, transcends time. That resilience, craftsmanship, and vision, when combined, can outlive kings, countries, and even centuries. And here's what's truly remarkable. Louis Vuitton didn't chase trends. He built a standard. He didn't follow the crowd. He led through consistency, and the brand that bears his name, it still walks in his footsteps over 160 years later. Every product is a chapter. Every store is a stage. Every customer is part of the narrative, and that's the magic. Because while the world changes at light speed, while TikToks go viral and vanish, while fads burn out overnight, Louis Vuitton stands untouched, evolving, adapting, but never bending. So whether you're building a brand, chasing a dream, or simply trying to find your path, remember Louis Vuitton. Remember the boy who walked 292 miles just to take his shot. Because sometimes the road to greatness isn't paved in gold. Sometimes it's cobbled with risk, rejection, and relentless faith. But those who keep walking, they don't just make history, they become it. Asterisk, asterisk, as we close this journey through the fascinating world of Louis Vuitton. Here's what you need to take away. Louis Vuitton is more than a luxury brand. It's a masterclass in vision, strategy, and resilience. From a young boy's dream to a global empire. It shows us that success isn't just about talent or timing, it's about consistency, it's control, and connection. It's about knowing who you aren't, fiercely protecting that identity while embracing change. It's about making people want your product so much they're willing to wait, save, and even sacrifice for it. And most importantly, it's about telling a story so compelling, so authentic, that people don't just buy a product, they buy into a legacy. So, what's your takeaway? What story are you building? What legacy will you leave? If Louis Vuitton teaches us anything, it's that the path to greatness isn't easy. But with vision and relentless dedication, it's possible. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the history and marketing genius behind Louis Vuitton. If you found value in this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join our community for more business stories and marketing secrets. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. What surprised you most about Louis Vuitton's strategy? What brand do you want us to cover next? Asterisk, asterisk. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep hustling. And remember, the story you tell is the story you live. Asterisk, asterisk. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. This is Focus to Finance, signing off. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.